Hey guys, so this video is gonna be a little bit messy. If you watch any of my storytime videos, you'll know pretty quickly that high school Jessie sucked. I was just shitty in high school. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what I wanted to do in life, and therefore I took it out on everyone else. But I honestly was a mess, and throughout me being a mess, I actually was drinking a lot in high school. Now before I get started with the story, I want to mention that I do not in any way, shape, or form condone underage drinking. It's not like I'm scoping out all the local babies in my neighborhood trying to bring them home to drink beer with me, although that sounds like a really good time. If anything, this story is proof of why you shouldn't drink underage or why you should know your limits. Honestly, I think that underage drinking is something that just happens. Like I said, I'm not condoning it, but if we say like, oh my god, just don't do it, that would be really stupid because people are gonna do it anyway. I think we should be more open and have more communication with younger people who are drinking. That way we can protect them from being fucking morons. Alcohol could be a lot of fun, but when you take too much of it, it is honestly the worst thing ever. And that's what this story is about. I've only blacked out one time in my life. People have different definitions of blacking out. My definition of blacking out is literally seeing black and then waking up in different locations throughout the night. I feel like I have no shame nowadays when it comes to my videos. I'm like, well, they already know I'm a fucking disaster, so what do I have to lose? So anyway, let's get started. There's two people involved in this story, and we're gonna name them Eileen and Barbara. I'm giving them fake names because I'm pretty sure a lot of the people from my high school still watch my YouTube videos, so let's just be safe. Eileen was someone who I went to middle school with and high school, and she was just like a cool kid. And I don't mean like she was like a cool kid, she was like a cool kid. And I was obsessed with her. Most people in high school have some sort of aspiration, you know, they want to move on and go to college, or they want to be a cop, or whatever they want to do. I just wanted to be cool. The only thing that really was plaguing my mind in high school was being accepted. I wanted to be accepted so bad by people who in the grand scheme of things like literally contributed nothing to my life. But anyway, I was living in a small bubble, and Eileen was like the outside of the bubble. She was like the thing that was holding me together. Eileen had been a good friend of mine in middle school before she was a cool kid. And then in high school we kind of drifted apart, but one day she was like, hey, like we totally need to hang out this weekend, are you free? I was like, yeah, like I'll totally like check my schedule and like see if that's like a possibility. Oh my god, I was losing it. I was so excited. She told me that I could sleep over and we would go out that night, and I was like, dope, let's do it. When in reality my mom did not let me sleep over places at that time, and I totally had to like pile on the lies and manipulate situations so that I could sleep over her house. But I was like, yeah, see you there, no big deal. After all the fucking mission that I pulled to be able to sleep over her house, I went to her house, and I never even asked if her mom was like cool with us going to the party. I just assumed that her mom was cool because Eileen was cool. So why wouldn't her mom be cool? That's just like how it works, right? Barbara was Eileen's cousin. We were all gonna go to the party together. I went to Eileen's house and we were super excited, and then her mom drove us to the party. We pulled up to the house and you can definitely hear music. You can hear that shit was going on inside of the house. So Eileen's mom turns to her and she's like, I need to speak to the parents before you guys get off the car. And Eileen was like, what do you mean? Like, why did you talk to the parents, mom? What the fuck? And Eileen's mom was like, what the fuck? Get her parents right now. And that's when I realized, oh shit, her mom's Hispanic. We in trouble. Eventually this random guy comes out of the house and he starts talking to Eileen's mom. And he's like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like my parents went out to dinner, so like we're not gonna be able to like have that conversation you wanted to have, but like totally wish we could have. And Eileen's mom was like, oh yeah, like where'd your parents go out to eat? And he's like, yeah, like Roadhouse Grill. And she's like, well, Roadhouse Grill closed 2 months ago. And he's like, well, shit. This was so many years ago, so I don't actually remember how we ended up convincing Eileen's mom to let us go into the party, but we did, and we went into the party. I knew nobody there. This wasn't a party of people who went to my high school. This was a different school party, so I was like, oh shit, okay. At that age, I didn't know how to socialize. I didn't know what to do, so I was like, okay, I just need a drink. Because in reality, I had nothing in common with these people, and instead of realizing that and being like, oh, I don't really want to hang out with you guys, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna drink until I like you. The guy who had gone out to talk to Eileen's mom came up to me and offered me a shot. Instead of saying, yeah, sure, thank you, I said, what the fuck? Yeah, I want one. Who gets that defensive about a shot? Like, why is it being so crazy? But this triggered something in him to be like, oh yeah, you can't hang. And I was like, oh, I can't hang? You don't even know me, you can't hang. And obviously this intrigued him, so he was like, let's do a shot competition. And I was like, great. He brought 2 shot glasses. I was sitting on the sofa, there was a coffee table, and he was sitting across from me. We put the shot glasses down and we first take a shot of Hypnotic, which is kind of like a liqueur, or it's just not that strong. So I was feeling confident, and I was like, that's all you got? Pussy. I don't know why I said pussy so much when I was younger. I thought it was like a cute thing. I was like, oh, I'm being so like random. I'm being so weird. So he was like, oh yeah, you want some real shit? And I was like, yeah, bring it out, please. He brings out Bacardi 151. In case you don't know what Bacardi 151 is, it's the stuff you put in your car to make it work. It's that thing that you could put a drop of in a forest and then just throw a twig on it, and all of a sudden the whole forest is on fire. It's dangerous, okay? I had no idea what Bacardi 151 was at that time. I was just like, yeah, like pretty sure it's a rum or something. So I was like, yeah, totally fine. Bring out that real shit, pussy. He poured a shot, and then I took the shot, and then I almost died. My throat was on fire. I was gagging. My eyes were watering. My nose was fuming. My ears were about to fall off. And this entire time I'm just like trying to like play it off like, that's all you got? Pussy. It was a fucking mess. And he's like, oh, you want another one? I was like, yeah. And so he served a second shot of Bacardi 151. I took it because peer pressure. At this point, everyone in the party was very intrigued with our shot competition, so they were all standing around observing. We took the second shot of Bacardi 151, and honestly, I was just like pretty sure that was like my last night that I was gonna live. I kind of came to terms with the fact that like my throat was like gonna be burned off for the rest of my life. I don't know if this guy was some sort of superhuman, but he was like, let's do another one. And I was like, okay, but like, let's maybe change the liquor. He's like, oh, you don't like Bacardi 151? I was like, nah. That shit's weak. Thank God he did not bring out anything stronger, because the only thing stronger would have been acetone. He decided to switch the liquor to Puerto Rican rum. Sorry. We must have taken about 4 or 5 Puerto Rican rum shots. Now let me just like give you a little perspective on this. I was not an experienced drinker. When I would drink with my brother, he would limit me to 2 shots of something like straight up, like tequila or vodka. I was not allowed to take more than 2 shots. Then here I am drinking Hypnotic, then Bacardi 151, and Puerto Rican rum back to back, around 8 or 9 shots in total. I'm pretty sure I ended up beating out the guy in the shot competition, which whoopee, you fucking win a miserable night. Congratulations, dumb bitch. All of those shots happened in like a 15-minute span. So when we were done with the shot competition, everyone was like, damn, you're so cool, Jessie. Like, wow, like that's crazy that you can hang like that. I'm like, yeah, guys, like it's totally fine. Like everything's totally fine right now. There was a girl sitting on the sofa, and I don't know why I just didn't like that bitch, okay? So I was talking to Eileen, and I was like, God, that girl's like such a bitch. Like, look at how she's looking at us. And Eileen was like, yeah, she is such a bitch. Fuck that bitch. That's the last thing I remember before I just leaned back in the couch and blacked out. I literally mean I saw black. It's not a memory that I don't have. It's not that I just forgot what happened. I literally blacked out. Then I woke up out of that blackout, and I was laying on the grass, and everyone was laughing at me. I wasn't sure if I had thrown up or not. I was very confused about the situation, but I was just like, why is everyone laughing at me? And before I could decipher why they were laughing at me, I blacked out again. And the next time I woke up, I was in the toilet throwing up, and I felt cold water running down my face, and I was like, oh my God, is that Eileen? Is Eileen taking care of me? Nope, it sure wasn't Eileen taking care of me, because that would be impossible, considering she was running around the house in her bra licking penises. I couldn't even make that up if I tried. At that age, I guess guys were so excited by like just a tongue hitting their penis, and I guess she was just like doing it as like a party joke, like, oh my God, like, oh. High school was so weird. But anyway, the person that was taking care of me was not Eileen, and it wasn't Barbara. It was the girl who I called a bitch. She had gotten, you know those bowls that have marbles in them? She had thrown out the marbles, and she filled the bowl with water and was putting water on my face and stroking my hair, and she put my hair back, and she's like, it's totally gonna be fine, I've been here. She was so sweet. Like, I don't know what I would have done without her. But she was taking care of me, and I was throwing up every like 5 minutes. It was horrendous. And all of a sudden, the worst possible thing that could have ever happened in that scenario happened. The bathroom door opens, and it's Eileen in her bra, obviously because she was licking the penises. We already discussed that. Eileen opens the door in her bra and says, hey girl, how long do you think you're gonna be? And I was like, well, probably all night, you dumb bitch. She's like, cool. Okay, my mom's outside, so we gotta go. And let me remind you that Eileen was a cool kid, okay? So I didn't want to look like I couldn't hang to her, so I was like, sweet, like, see you out there in a few minutes. I threw up one last time, and I was like, okay, Jessie, just fucking walk to the car, and you guys live like 15 minutes away, so it's totally fine, you're gonna make it. We get into the van, and I noticed that Eileen's mom had brought a friend to accompany her on the drive. So I greeted them both, and I went to the back of the car. I was like, shit. Immediately, I started doing this technique, which I'm super embarrassed to admit. But back in the day, since I didn't know my limits, I had to come up with techniques to help me deal with my nausea when I would drink. So I would cover my ears, I would breathe in, breathe out, and swallow, and then I would repeat. It looked literally like this. That's how it looked, and I would repeat that, and it would somewhat get my mind off of my nausea, whatever. I started doing that the second I sat in the back. But then I realized that Barbara, Eileen's cousin, was very, very intoxicated, and apparently she wasn't very good at hiding it. She stumbled into the car, and immediately Eileen's mom noticed. And she was like, what's wrong with her? And Eileen was like, I think it's like a low blood sugar. Yeah, it's definitely low blood sugar. And Eileen's mom made us go into the house, get her some crackers, and then we drove to La Carreta. If you live in Miami, you know La Carreta's Cuban food, whatever. She wanted to pick up some chicken noodle soup for Barbara, and I was like, oh my God, how dumb can this bitch be? She's not sick, she ain't got the fucking flu, she doesn't have low blood sugar, she's drunk as fuck. We're going to La Carreta, and I remember Eileen's mom commenting on me in the back. She's like, what's wrong with your friend? Because I was literally just like, and talking to myself. It was a mess. We get to La Carreta and Eileen gets down to get the chicken noodle soup and go pee. I was so drunk that I didn't even have the thought to go inside of the restaurant and go throw up. I felt like I needed to sit back, have no one talk to me, no one touch me. I was sweating profusely. I was so pale. This was a minivan, so I was all the way in the back row and then Barbara was in the middle row. Eileen's mom's friend comes around to go see Barbara and like tend to her, and she put like alcohol swabs in her nose and all that shit. And I began to realize that my stupid ass technique was not working. I could no longer hold in my vomit. So yeah, you guessed it. I put my head outside of the car and I threw up. Now that alone is horrible. You know, throwing up outside of the car, like yeah, that's not a good look. But I threw up all over Eileen's mom's friend's shoes. I didn't even have the mental capacity in that moment to tell her that I was so sorry. I threw up on her shoes and then I receded back into the back row and I started doing my stupid little technique again. I was so not okay. It was in that moment that the parents realized that we were drunk. I mean, shit, took you long enough. Eileen's mom calls Eileen and she goes, get in the car right now, forget the soup. She starts driving super aggressively back to Eileen's house and I'm like, oh shit. We get to the house where apparently Barbara's mom was chilling at. Eileen's mom goes inside the house, tells Barbara's mom what happened, and Barbara's mom comes into the vehicle and beats the living shit out of Barbara. I am sitting there watching this like, what the fuck? They were acting like I wasn't even there. Barbara was getting smacked by her mom. Eileen's mom was screaming at the top of her lungs at Eileen, and I'm in the back like, Dr. Phil! Barbara's mom grabbed Barbara by the ear and took her inside, and Eileen and her mom continued to fight until they got inside the house. They legitimately closed the doors of the car and locked me inside the car. I mean, I'm right here, bitches. And remember that I was supposed to sleep over Eileen's house? She didn't. I was just like, okay, cool guys, like no big deal. I'll just like figure it out. Like I'll just kind of like see what happens. I got out of the car and called my dad and told him I needed him to come pick me up. And I threw up at least 7 times before he got there. Luckily he lived like 3 minutes away, but not so luckily he wanted to pass by McDonald's before we got there. And I shit you not, it took everything in me to not barf in that man's car. Smelling the McDonald's in the drive-thru, he was like, you want some McDonald's? I was like, But anyway, we got home and I don't know how the fuck it happened, but he never found out that I was drunk that night. Anyway, that's it for this story. Don't do alcohol, children. I want to thank Felicia for this shirt, which is the best thing I've ever seen in my whole entire fucking life. It says, always be yourself unless you can be a giraffe. Then always be a giraffe. She also sent me this in my P.O. box, which when I saw was literally like it made me tear up. So Felicia, if you're watching this, thank you so much. You have no idea what your gift meant for me. And thank you so much to everyone who sent me a letter. I honestly, when I'm holding something that you guys sent me, it's out of this fucking world for me. I appreciate it so much. If you sent me a letter with a return address, I will be sending you guys a letter, so look out for that. My P.O. box information will be below. Thank you guys so much for being so generous. Ugh, it blows my fucking mind. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for 400,000 subscribers. Fucking mind blown, tits off. Please subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every Tuesday and Saturday, and I will see you on Saturday. Bye!
And one time I asked him and he told me it was because he was in the forest. He didn't talk to me for hours. I was like blowing up his phone. He told me he was in the forest protecting the raccoons.